like we've said before, a lot of you, you don't really know us. So we want you to get to know us better. So that's why we're going to do another round of Let's Get Personal. Matt has written some questions for us, and we are going to answer them as we pull them out of a Santa hat.
Okay, I'll do the honors.
Do the honors.
First one. What memory instantly makes you smile?
What memory instantly makes me smile?
Well, this was more like heartfelt and legitimate than I thought it was going to be.
Mm-hmm. I think for me, the memory. I mean, this has happened now multiple times, but when I first found out that my oldest sister was pregnant, and we were going to have our first. Excuse me. Sorry, I'm tearing up a little bit. It's not because it's because of the onion. No, it's not because of the onion. But when we had our first niece enter the family.
What's her name again?
Carolina.
Oh.
I love, and now there's like, by next year, there will be 10 nieces and nephews in my family. And so it's very fun. I'm going to be very broke for the rest of my life because pretty much if any of them ask me for anything, yes, I will buy it for them.
That's funny.
So that's mine.
Mine is, you were slightly a part of this one. Oh, I just spit some onion. You were slightly a part of this one, but you weren't the main reason. It's when Brenna was walking down the aisle. And
I'm glad I wasn't the main reason.
Yeah, you weren't the main reason about that. But when Brenna walked down the aisle, she was walking with her dad. I was like, our wedding video is online, and I was like bawling.
Mm-hmm.
Like I was.
Yes, you were.
I was crying so hard, but that instantly makes me smile. It's such a special moment. She looked amazing, and yeah, loved it. And then when she actually got to the front, my dad did our ceremony, and he said, "All right, stop crying, son. The ceremony hasn't even started."
I remember that. Very funny. Very funny. Very sweet.
Uh-huh.
Next question. What was your first impression of each other? Oh, gosh.
Okay, so we met at the audition.
Uh-huh.
Well, I probably had the same first impression of JJ that most people have of JJ, which he's just loud and boisterous and like, really good at being center of attention and stuff like that. So I think, and I came to realize like that's a great thing about you. I don't think you're trying to scene steal or like take attention off of other people.
Well, let me tell you something.
Yeah, your turn. Obviously, it's yours. No, that you were loud. Joke. You were very loud.
Yes. Yes. Well, that's true. That's true. Especially at that time.
Mm-hmm.
At that time. My first impression of Josh. Josh, I remember thinking like, who's this like kind of like lanky little freshman? But I thought you were funny. I was like, dang, he's good. And I was like, I think he'll make it, and I think I'll make the team. and I didn't, of course.
Yeah, if you listen to the first episode,
but
you didn't.
Yeah, I did think you were very funny, and I thought that you were like awkward. In the best way.
I was though, because I came into college and I was only 17 years old.
Mm-hmm.
And
you looked very young.
If you go on my Instagram or JJ's Instagram, there's some pictures of me. I have the most baby face ever.
Yes.
And I have a very round head. The beard is just an illusion. It gives the illusion that I have a chin, but there's really no jawline there. That's why I keep it. Let's go to the next question. What is your biggest fear? Matt went hard with these questions this time.
Are we talking like rational or irrational?
However you interpret it.
Okay. So I have
sometimes rational fears are also irrational.
Yeah. One of my biggest fears is getting stuck in a saw trap.
Okay, so you're obviously one with irrational fear.
Yeah, but also like claustrophobic drowning. Like being stuck in a tight space and then drowning. And like not being able to. I had a time once I used to work at an indoor water park, and we were having this staff party, and the tube, the slide, they stuffed like tubes like 3 deep in there, so it like would block the water, and then people would come through and they like would blast the tubes, and it was supposed to be fun, crazy. Mm-hmm. I sneak up to the top and be like, oh, I'm gonna run down and scare them, and so I go down and I get to the bottom, and the tubes, they won't budge. And I'm like freaking out, and I'm screaming. I'm like, "You guys, hey!" And nobody can hear me. I see people like looking, and I was like, "This is 3 tubes deep," and I'm like kicking at them, and this isn't going down. And then another guy comes down. We both run into it. Doesn't move. The water starts rising up, and it's like pitch black in there. And so we're like trying to climb up the slide, and the water's running down. And it's tiny. And so I'm like freaking out, thinking like, "Oh my gosh, I'm gonna die at this staff party because nobody can hear us." And then 2 more people came down, and we finally crashed through. But I found out it was because the manager was like, "Guys, take some of those out of there. It's a little bit unsafe." And so I came out, and I was very scared. So that is why I have that.
That actually happened?
That actually happened.
When you were telling that, I thought that was a dream you had.
No, that was a very real. And so I mean, it probably wasn't like as dire. Like in my mind,
No,
like,
I was getting anxious as you were saying.
In my mind,
telling the story,
I thought I was going to die, but it probably wasn't as dire. Like if I look back, rolled the tape. But when you're in those moments and the adrenaline's pumping, you're like, oh gosh.
Well, I guess I'll give an irrational fear and irrational fear. I always have dreams, and this actually just happened last night, that I'm like, I haven't finished homework for a class. And I've been out of college for almost 6 years now, but like, not only that I haven't finished homework, but there's been a class that I have not attended for 2 months, and that I'm like not going to be able to graduate. I'm always in my last semester, and I'm not going to be able to graduate. That's my irrational fear.
No, that's very rational. That happen. I feel like that happens to a lot of people.
Yeah, so I'm always my scary dreams that I have, and then my rational fear is that like something is going to happen to Brenda while she's on the job. So she's a nurse, and nurses, there's actually like a really high percentage of assaults against nurses because people who are in the hospital and who are sick sometimes aren't in their right mind. And not necessarily just people who have like psychotic issues, people who are just sick. They're confused and they don't know what's going on. Will like reach out, grab nurses, hit nurses. So I'm nervous about that.
Jeez.
But they have a lot of male presence on the floors just in case something like that happens.
That's very good.
In case a male needs to come in and like throw a punch if like with another grown man grabbing Brenna's arm or something. That's what makes me really scared.
Yeah.
Well, I feel like the listeners know more about us, and I feel like I know more about you.
Exactly.